going to talk about the physical processes, and when we talk about the river, that we consider river as a living being, then how to consider that, what are the factors which will govern its processes, govern its behavior, and then in our terms, in the scientific term, we call as the geomorphology, but its main thing is the appearance and behavior. If we see the river Yamuna from mountain front to up to Prayagraj, we will see that its appearances changes from place to place. So what are the reasons? What are the governing parameters are there? Why is it important to study that appearance part? Because it affects the habitat of the system, and habitat ultimately defines the health of the river system. So if our appearance or if river appearance will change, then the whole river health will change. It's same like the human being. So if the human being have the different appearances, and from the appearances we try to find out what kind of processes or what kind of nature of the person is there. Same thing is there, that with this kind of studies we try to understand the appearance, and then we interpret the processes and try to manage that part. So the study start with the sediment transport process. That's was the first part is there, and then ultimately reach up to the basin scale. So river is not only the conduit to transfer water, but it also transfers sediment load and nutrients that ultimately define its physical appearance, and also the nutrient transport defines the ecology part is that. I will show you five slides. It's a very brief presentation just to highlight that what are the new things we can find out, and why is it important. First thing is that this is a map of the Yamuna river system, and you can see there are the different colors. Actually, these colors indicates the different elevation. If the color is very bright, in this case the red color is there, it means the elevation is much higher. And then other part, the elevation is lower, and in the yellow part it is moderate. It means that river is flowing within a landscape, and landscape characteristics will affect this part. Similarly, like we human beings, we are living in the different states. Those landscape also affects our behavior. That also depends. If the mountain range is very steep, then the sediment supply will be higher, and the river will appear differently. If the mountain is not that steep, sediment supply will be low. These are the natural factors. The topography, geology, weak rock, hard rock, or in the climate. But nowadays the major challenge is that how the human impacts are going to affect. And then the second part is that our curve, which indicates the population has increased in the last four decades, and you can see around 5 million years to very close to 20 million years population is there. And as morning it was discussed that only 2% of the Yamuna crosses Indraprasth area or from the Delhi NCR region, but it makes a significant impact. Now, what is the significant impact? One thing is, of course, it affects the water quality. Second thing is also affect the processes, and that we will see. In general, when we move from upstream to downstream along a river channel, then amount of water increases in the river because of the base flow contribution coming from the groundwater component, and also the tributary contribution. If you see the Yamuna river at the mountain front, that's a plot. On the y-axis is the peak discharge data set, which has been analyzed through the flood frequency plot. So if you can see that first there is a drawdown is there. It is not natural. It should increase like what is happening. So for the downstream of Etawah, it is increasing because there is a more component, more water joins from Chambal, Betwa and Jain. But here it is not a natural process because this interference of the humans are playing an important role. Now, how important is that interference or this particular drawdown is there? That part is there, and what are the driving forces in are there? Why it is decreasing? So one thing is, we all know there are the barrages from Hattikund, and then there are these three different barrages are there, Wazirabad, Okhla, and then another one in Delhi is there. That affects the thing. But second thing is also the groundwater contribution. At morning, our honorable minister has suggested that we should see the river not only just on the water, but also see the interaction of river and groundwater. You have to see the river in a three-dimension view. And this particular slide actually highlights this part. These are some of the field observations which we have done. So you can see that wherever the blue color indicates the river water level, and this dotted line indicates the groundwater level. And these are some of the places, Yamunanagar, Bagpat, Karnal areas is there, which have been plotted here. So wherever river water is higher, it will contribute the water to the groundwater, or wherever groundwater is higher, like here groundwater is higher, it will contribute to the river. So we call this kind of river as the gaining river, and then another kind of river system, like in this case canal, we call as the losing streams are there. Losing streams lose their water. So qualitatively we have seen that some of the places the Yamuna is a gaining stream, some of the places it is a losing stream. Naturally it should behave like a gaining stream in this alluvial plain area, but that only gives a qualitative statement. Next state is that we go for some other proxies, some other data set, and one of the very standard data, the method is that you analyze the stable isotope within the water. You analyze the oxygen isotope and then the hydrogen isotopes, your data set, develop the equation, and then you can quantify that how much water we are losing or river is losing to groundwater or gaining from the groundwater. So based on the data set, I will not go into the detail of methodology, that will be discussed further. But if you see the output, which is showing that at the just close to the mountain front, because the gravel material is there, so river loses its water, around 56% of the water it is losing, which is expected. But then it is more or less gaining or stable things are there. 4 and 2% is not a major thing. But once it reaches in Delhi, there is a significant amount of loss is there. It start from Palla and all the way up to this part, and reach 10, which is in Noida, it is started gaining in the system. So it is not only the barrage impact is there, but it's the groundwater extraction, which is also playing a very important role in defining the water health and defining the ultimately the river health passes there. So that is one aspect, that there are the different processes which may be invisible, but it affects the river system. And if we have to manage the river system, we have to also tap the invisible processes part. Second aspect is the impact. So these are just these two slides are there. So impact is that once the water will reduce, then action of river will reduce. Action of river is sediment transportation or sediment erosion part is there. This plot is showing the sediment transportation process. On the y-axis is the sediment transport load, which we have get from the Central Water Commission. And these are the different stations plotted from mountain front to we are very close to the Allahabad area. So you can see that this number 2 is the Delhi region is there. So there is some amount of sediment is coming, and these each plots indicating the different year periods. If we take an average, it has been plotted as a dark blue line, which is the average picture is there. So what it shows that there's some amount of sediment is coming from the Himalaya, then more amount of suspended load gas eroded from the Delhi area, which is mainly from the construction site and the agricultural sites is there. But across the Delhi, there is not much sediment transportation happening. So this is the main actually Yamuna river system, and this is the Delhi area. So downstream of Delhi, the amount of sediment transportation is almost negligible. And today morning also there was a discussion that lots of siltation is going on. That is there because there is not much of the water going into the system. It is not able to transport the sediment. Then ultimately it increases once the Chambal and Betwa river joins, and then we are getting a major flux in the sediment load. So because of these things, it is not able to carry its main function or the main physical process, which is the sediment transport process there. So Delhi is not only, it is almost dead as a because of the water pollution or because of the very poor water quality, but also in terms of the physical processes, it is also dead. It is not able to do its work.